I'm with Elana Heidaman from Israel Forever Foundation, and we're talking about Declaration Day. Now, Elana, what is Declaration Day?
Declaration Day, May 14th. This year, every year, online and everywhere, we are cementing this day in public awareness through a global campaign to make sure that the historicity of this one day does not get swallowed up by the propaganda and lies that have been built against Israel. We see year after year that the awareness of Israel's history is so poor that they believe literally anything about claims of land grabbing, colonialism, taking over, stealing the property of the Palestinians. But no, when we ground ourselves and the public in the facts of history, then we know that in 1947, on November 29th, there was a vote by all of the nations of the world for the fulfillment of previous international proclamations that gave a Jewish state in the ancestral homeland to the Jews. And that would come to fruition at the end of the British Mandate. So on the very last day, May 14th, 1948, the very last day of the mandate, the leadership of Israel came together and they proclaimed the state of Israel in the ancestral biblical homeland of the land of Israel. On this day, this year and every year, we are making sure that we are going to have everyone in the world aware of this date and recognizing May 14th in the most unique, personal, and public of ways as Declaration Day, because we need to make sure that history and truth stand forever.
So, what practically are you doing to get other people to recognize this day?
This campaign has been growing over the years. What started as a social activism through social media initiative grew into diplomatic events that were taking place in Jerusalem for the last 4 years. These were gatherings of heads of state that were representatives here in Israel of embassies of international bodies, as well as nonprofit, non political organizations to demonstrate that diplomacy makes a difference. Well, this year, diplomacy truly has made a difference because our continued effort have resulted in three major proclamations happening throughout the world. The first taking place on the floor of the Knesset, with member of Knesset Ohad Tal being the first to proclaim Declaration Day within the Israeli parliament, our democratic leadership body. It will be followed up by a declaration at the Embassy of Israel in Washington, D.C., where they will be gathering with Ambassador Leiter and the community that is there to honor Declaration Day as we lead up to May 14th, where we will then have a proclamation at the United Nations by Ambassador of Israel to the United Nations, Danny Danon, who is proclaiming as well the recognition of Declaration Day. And with this effort of this unique year, we will be launching two-pronged campaign. Number one is to increase Declaration Day's recognition through political action, getting it into international calendars. Having an educational thread is our second focus, making sure that schools in Israel, around the world, religious, non, Jewish, and non, are all educated to the significance of what took place on and before May 14th. Because this is one of the crucial ways that we can counter the lies being spread about May 15th and onward. What the anti Israel, anti Semitic efforts are, their main cause is to establish Nakba Day, that the establishment of the Israel was actually a catastrophe. Only our standing with truth through these not only apolitical, but political action oriented, proactive methods of educating and awareness and truly taking a stand with history, only then can we make sure that we drown out the lies and we perpetuate the truth for future generations.
You said you had this in the Knesset in Washington, D.C., and Also, the United Nations, I'm quite surprised about the United Nations. They're not very warming towards
That
Israel.
is
So is this very
that
significant?
is true. That is true, and we do not yet have this on the United Nations public calendar, but that is a goal. In the meantime, Ambassador Danon's recognition, this is a first of many steps to help make sure that we are joining our voices for a united, proactive cause. Such efforts like these have existed in the past. One was for the establishment of the International Holocaust Remembrance Day on January 27th to commemorate the day of the liberation of Auschwitz. It was selected as a universally relevant date because it reflected not only the Jewish suffering and persecution that took place during the Holocaust, but it also gave an international potential for approach and memory that complemented Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance and Heroism Day, which is in April, it usually falls on, and it's according to a Jewish date on the Jewish calendar. Most people don't recognize that date when they're not a part of the Jewish world. So establishing an internationally recognizable date on the secular calendar has made a very important difference over the last 20 years for Holocaust remembrance. The hope of Declaration Day is that we will be able to recognize the importance of this international alliance with the historical truth. The more we protect it, the more we teach it, the more that we can make sure that people do not see the creation of Israel as simply a miracle for the Jewish people. No. Instead, it was the fulfillment of international law that had been set in place for 30, 40, 50 years even prior to that. So many steps that required diplomacy and activism and never once deteriorated in any type of force and the type of demonizing lies that the anti-Semites spread about the Zionist movement. No, the Zionist movement was one of pure integrity. And Declaration Day actually reflects that integrity with great power. It's our responsibility to use that power for the sake of good and make sure that more and more people understand the history and therefore become activists for the truth.
So how can people all around the world stand in the shoes of David Ben-Gurion and declare their support?
Well, actually, we have a background that anyone can download and use as their own background to stand next to Ben Gurion and make their own declaration, because we know that people love to have creative ways to make reels and shorts that will help them in their own social media activism. So we really are encouraging as many people as possible to make a reel, to make your declaration, make a statement, and make sure to use the hashtag Declaration Day, and come visit declarationdayisrael.com, where you'll be able to see the many different ways that you can make a difference, including hosting an event, whether big or small. We even have an exhibition that has been expertly written and curated for any presentation in any public or private space even. It's really a wonderful resource. Another way that we're encouraging people is to sign our petition, where we are trying to make sure that this international recognition happens. The signatures count. So your voice matters. And some of the most creative ways that you can make a difference don't have to be out loud. They can be in your home. You can decide together to use one of Israel's Forever's resources of the Declaration of Independence text and a series of discussion questions, because these are the ways that we engage with the text of history, with the values and the ideals that are represented in the Declaration of Israel's Independence. It encompasses the entirety of history, the entirety of vision, the entirety of the integrity of our army. And then one will know that the lies spread about Israel are indeed lies. One need only read our Declaration of Independence. One need only read Jewish prayers to be able to confidently say they will stop at nothing to come up with lies about the Jews and about Israel. But we know the source. And so you can talk about it in your home, read it privately and just become familiar. Of course, follow Israel Forever, where we are putting out endless content pieces that are shareable, informational, and help you make a difference. So here are the many ways that you can do something to make May 14th history this year and every year, online and everywhere. So check it out, guys. DeclarationDayIsrael.com, and be in touch with us if you need anything, or if you want us to give you a shout out for something you're doing for Declaration Day, because we want to honor you. All of your voices matter, and when we work together, we build the unity that we want to see. Declaration Day has the potential to do that.
Are you getting many people from all around the world supporting this? And are many Christians supporting this as well?
Oh, absolutely. This is definitely an international interfaith endeavor. This is not just about recognition within the Jewish world, because, as I said, we have that with Yom HaAtzmaut. What we need is, if you ask even many Zionists, you say, what's May 14th? Many don't realize the importance of that secular date. It is essential that we spread it. So are we getting interest? Yes, we have some schools, congregations, churches, all sorts of the Indigenous Embassy, which is in Jerusalem, has joined as a partner. We have all sorts of organizational partners as well who are helping to make sure that we are able to spread this initiative far and wide, and more people can be aware of not only the importance of May 14th, but also the importance of making it publicly aware, publicly active, and this is how we make a proactive difference. I will say also about some of the Christian partners that we have grown. Some of them have even added it to their prayers for May 14th, creating a unique prayer for the state of Israel, created on this day, just as on Yom HaAtzmaut we say this prayer for the state of Israel. So too, on May 14th, we can say this prayer and be grateful for the gift of God that he has given not only the Jewish people, but all of humanity.
Of course, Israel isn't just 1948. Israel is biblical. And we can go back to the very book of Genesis, where we see
That's
the
right.
promises of God talking about giving a land as an eternal covenant. So it's not just 1948. There's a huge thousands of years history for the nation of Israel, isn't there?
And that's why Declaration Day has such value, because all of the 2,000 of years of history has been kind of squashed into the modern day rhetoric of Palestine. But when you look at this ancestral past, you're able to see the lineage that connects the Jewish people of today with the ancestral biblical homeland. It's very important in a time when people are fighting for indigenous rights, that it is recognized that the Jews are the indigenous people of this land, and that this is where the Jewish nation was born. The Jews come from Judea, and any effort to separate us from that is nothing other than an expression of the oldest hatred in the world. We call it anti-Semitism. It has many different faces. Call it Judeophobia. Whatever it might be, it has been pulsing through the veins of many people for thousands of years, and yet the Jewish people have survived. So when we do celebrate Declaration Day, it is not about the creation of the Jewish state. No, it is the rebirth in the same physical ancestral soil and using the same language that had been used by the people 2,000, 3,000 years ago. So I think that it's important for people to recognize that something so modern can keep alive a legacy and an understanding of the history of something so far in our past.
And this is very important as well, isn't it? Because many nations today are turning away from Israel, and we're seeing a rise in anti-Semitism. So we need to encourage people to support the nation of Israel and get behind this.
And to see its positive value in their own existence, to see that it is a shared value, because they're being told terrible lies about Israel. They say that's not behavior, those are not policies that I align myself with. But actually, if one were to look beyond the headline, then yes, you would be able to see that it is the behavior of Israel, of our leaders, of our military, that we actually represent the very values that some of these social justice activists claim to be fighting for. It's very important today because in a post-October 7th world, when we would anticipate that there would be some empathy for the humanity of the Jewish people who were attacked in a genocidal assault, what we're seeing instead is the siding with those who committed the evil atrocity. This is a dangerous sign for the future. So we need to do actions now. We need to fulfill needs now so that as their rhetoric and narrative of lies, which is so well funded and so well integrated into the systems, it is institutional Jew hatred. And it is expressed in every way. Right now, more nations are turning away, more people are turning away, and it's actually God giving us an opportunity. God is telling us that there are those who will increasingly turn their face away from Israel because they are joining the fight of evil. Instead, it is the few who will join the cause of the Jewish nation, and they are the nation of good. We know that this is going to happen. We've seen the patterns before. We've been told in every book of the Bible. It is our blueprint if only more people would understand it and read it weekly and know the Jewish prayers that go along with that legacy. Only then can we truly, because we're not going to defeat anti-Semitism. We're not going to get rid of it. All we can do is educate more and more people to have an increased respect for the Jew, Jewish faith, Jewish history, Jewish heritage. What does it mean? And why can we accept it and not turn it into a demonized entity that is somehow a threat to us? That's where anti-Semitism stems from. The concept that the Jew represents a threat to us. But we're always the other. And so therefore it can manifest itself in many ways. I think that when we encourage people to see that there is no threat, and actually in the very weeks surrounding and on the day even when Israel was reestablished as a nation state, other nation states were created and none of them faced the demonization campaigns and the delegitimizing campaigns that Israel faces. Because at its core, it is Jew hatred. So the more people know it, the easier we can fight it. And if you need help, you're in a situation, you have a community, you don't know how to counter these very well-funded, well-structured, systemized anti-Semitic campaigns. If you don't know what to do, we are happy to help you find the resources that you need, get the ideas that you need to be creative to counter the evil that grows amongst us.
Remind us of your website again for people who'd like to make their declaration.
Well, the declaration can be made at declarationdayisrael.com. I am the CEO of the Israel Forever Foundation, and our goal is to personalize the connection and understanding of Israel as an asset to not only humanity and civilization, but to understanding identity and peoplehood. This is for Jews and non-Jews all over the world, so you can come check out the sponsoring organization Israel Forever at israelforever.org. And this year, Declaration Day, May 14th, kick it off this year and every year. So come and sign the petition at declarationdayisrael.com and be in touch if there's anything that we can do to help you.
Well, Elana, thank you very much for sharing today.
Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to amplify the message and to empower each one of you, to inspire you with just how much one person can make a difference. Good luck, everybody.